Over the last 7 years of Seagar's Extreme Kayak Fishing Challenge, I've had the opportunity to explore and fish in some of the most amazing places in the world. From yellowtail in Baja, roosters in Costa Rica, tarpon in Puerto Rico, and kingfish in New Zealand. Stay tuned, this is going to be an awesome show. Over the last 9 years, I've had the opportunity to explore and fish in some of the most amazing places in the world. We've gone fishing for Nile perch on the Nile River in Uganda. We've chased marlin in Baja Sea of Cortez. We've caught peacock bass in Brazil in the Amazon jungle. We've gone after huge alligator gar in Texas, sturgeon in Canada, roosterfish in Panama. The list goes on and on. So this week, we're gonna go do something we've never done before. We're gonna step back in time and look back on some of the best fishing adventures from the past few years. One of the first trips that pops to mind is my latest trip to Cedros Island. Not only is Cedros one of my favorite places to fish, but this time I got to do it with one of my best friends, Sean White, and my daughter, Kirsten. Now, some fishing trips are memorable because of the fishing. Some trips are memorable because where you are, and some fishing trips are memorable because of the people you're with. This trip to Cedros was a trip that was memorable for all those reasons.
All morning I was catching little calicos on my big pelagic stuff, and I was like, I don't want to switch because that's when I'm going to catch something big. And I switched, and that's when I caught something big.
I was ready to just call it a day and say I'm out for a nice paddle today because it was so windy. I didn't think we were going to get anything, but it started clicking, so a fish was on, and I grabbed the reel, and it was heavy.
Okay, go, 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 right at it. Wine, bull, 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 you can rest tomorrow.
Nothing huge, but for a bass rod, I will totally take it.
The fish swam into the kelp one time. I had to pass the rod off to my dad so that he could get it untangled and everything.
It's not broken off, but it's locked in the kelp. Oh, there it goes, there it goes. So I'm trying to let it swim out.
But then after that, I pulled it out to the boat by myself, and it was, I mean, it was big. So I was pretty proud of myself.
Got her in the kelp, and I got it out. Bring it up! Oh my God, this is huge! This is a huge yellowtail!
Yep. 39.17.
Good fish. Cedros fish.
I was paddling as hard as I could at some points with those really hard gusts, and I was going, you know, like 0.7 miles an hour, and just really working hard to stay in the zone. And I got two really good quality yellowtail, a couple of the biggest I've ever caught, a 37 and a 39 pounder. And I'm telling you, fighting those big fish in those challenging conditions just made the catches that much more exciting. I mean, it was really cool. You know, I said I was paddling, 0.7 miles an hour. That fish pulled me 2 miles an hour into the wind. That shows you how powerful these big fish are. And it was just so exciting and so fun. And when you finally get that fish underneath you and you know you've got it, you got color, it's dicey because there's so much water moving around and the fish may go down and it's kind of sketchy, but you have color and it's just like, you know, you're that close to getting it. Got it! Yeah! Man, it was so exciting. It was just such a great ending to an awesome trip here at Cedros Island with Cedros Outdoor Adventures. This is the yellowtail Kirsten caught. Seagar's Extreme Kayak Fishing Challenge is brought to you by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Malone, changing the way you get there. Werner, a great fishing paddle is a great paddling paddle. Seagar, the inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders. Ray Marine, simply superior. Welcome back to Seagar's Extreme Kayak Fishing Challenge. This week we're taking a trip down memory lane and looking at some of the best fishing adventures we've had over the past few years. Being a saltwater guy, I like to catch pretty much anything in the ocean. But roosterfish, they've always been one of my favorites. Not only are they really cool looking, but pound for pound, they're one of the hardest fighting fish out there. And so with big roosterfish in mind, we headed down to Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula, where I hooked up with my good buddy Esteban Gutierrez from Blackbeard Fishing Company. We had an incredible current. I mean, we were paddling, if we stopped paddling, we were drifting at 2 miles an hour. So what would happen, we were paddling into current trolling, the fish would hit, and then, so you would grab your rod and you were drifting towards it, so it would hit and then it would immediately go straight down. But I had this incredible fish, and I mean, these fish, I don't know, I don't know if it's because they're used to swimming in this really strong current, but they just feel stronger than roosters I've caught in the past. I mean, they're just brutally strong.
Oh yeah.
Oh, big beautiful rooster. It's probably one of my biggest ever.
Woo! That is a big, beautiful rooster.
I'm gonna have the boat come over so they can pull it and give it a chance. I really don't want this fish to die. I really want to revive it. You know, take advantage of the resources you have. We have the camera boat there. I had this fish on a boga so they could hang on to the boga and drag the fish in the water and spend more time reviving it and moving forward, which is just a little bit hard to do in the kayak. So if you love the fish, you know, like I said, I got no problem eating fish, but there's certain fish that I really care for, that you really want to spend the time to make sure. I mean, that's an old fish, and want to make sure they're still around.
Well, yeah, I had a fish kind of pull me over and under.
Thing's pulling some line.
He took off pretty fast. He went down and under the kayak, and I just kind of followed.
I mean, I watched it. He literally fell over in slow motion.
I think the anticipation of catching fish, especially since I lost 2 big ones the day before, I was determined not to let that one go. You know, I lost a rod, I lost some tackle, some gear, but the one thing I didn't lose was the grip on that rod. I was able to get back out. That's the important thing about having a PFD. And that's also the important thing about not kayaking alone. I was able to get help, and I got back on the boat, back on the kayak, fought the fish for another 10 minutes, and it really was an amazing catch. It kind of made my whole trip.
You know, good on him, because after going in the water, that can be a little startling and all that. So got him back in the water, or back into his kayak, and continued to fight and was able to land just a big, beautiful rooster fish. And you see a rooster fish that big, you can see why, oh, maybe it could pull me in the water.
Nice, Rooster. That's a beautiful fish, dude.
I love rooster fish. I mean, I love to catch those fish. They're an incredible sport fish. They're not particularly good table fare. So, you know, you get these big fish, you really want to do all you can to revive them. And, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to revive the fish. And in the case with Esteban's fish, so I jumped in the water with it, and I've done it before with roosters, and it works. You know, it's just a matter of getting their head pointed down in an upright position and compress their the air bladder a little bit so they can then swim down and be on their own. So that's what I did with Esteban's fish, and we do everything we can to revive these fish every time. Welcome back to Seagar's Extreme Kayak Fishing Challenge. I'm Jim Salmons. This week we're doing things a little bit different, and we are taking a look back at some of our best adventures over the last few years. One of the places that we've filmed 3 times over the past 9 years is New Zealand. It's a beautiful country, the people are awesome, and the fishing is ridiculous. On this trip, our primary target was kingfish, which we call yellowtail here in America. Without a doubt, New Zealand is one of the best places in the world to catch really big kingfish. But as we learned a few years back, there are a lot of sharks in the water with the same idea. And I got a pretty good scare when a shark tried to grab one of my big kingies right out of my hand. And so to help us to get on fish on this trip, we hooked up with a couple of the locals, Brent Klink and local legend, Kerry Flowers.
So I'm Kerry Flowers. I'm a kayak fisherman in New Zealand, in the far north of New Zealand on the east coast.
The weather's always quite warm up here. The water is definitely a lot warmer than further down a bit south. We have some really good kingies or yellowtails and some really big snapper up this way.
One of the great things about coming on this trip is that I get to share the Jackson Kayak Kraken with the guys in New Zealand. Now, this boat's been here for a little while, but not a lot of guys have seen it. So the Kraken was really built for the kind of water that these guys fish here in New Zealand. Big offshore water, chasing big fish. So it's really gonna be a compliment to what they can do here. Kerry got on a nice one on the mechanical jigging, man. Came out to a high spot. Didn't see a lot on the meters, but a little scratch here and there. And this looks like a really good fish.
It's not that big, but
I'd take that all day long, brother. Whew. Beautiful yellowtail kingfish. Woo. Nice.
yeah. So here we are. Just a nice little kingfish, you can go home.
Nice. Well, I've always said, you know, when you're going to a new location, one of the smartest things you can do is to hire a local guide. Being able to tap into a resource like Kerry, who does have an area so wired, just makes all the difference in whether you are going to a spot and catching a fish or spending half your day trying to find a spot. Yeah, that's a nice fish there, man.
Whoa, Brinson! Triple banger!
Woo-hoo-hoo! Triple hookup, beautiful fish. Look at that. So strong, so much fun. Woo-hoo! Boom! Yeah! So nice to have that fish finder hold you over the spot, built-in GPS. So we marked the spot that Kerry told us about, and able to stay over the top of that. You see a school of bait or school of fish down below, you drop on it and bam, you're on.
Well, this is what happens when you get a lively kingfish on the line and a bronze whale or shark wants to have a free feed. There's not much you can do about it because they just come in and they smack you. They're known as the tax men for a reason, and he's taken the best part of that fish.
So once I was jigging for some kingfish, we were sitting about 65, 70 metres of water. I think I was on my 4th or 5th kingfish, and I felt the line slowly tugging, and I knew that something wasn't right here. The shark grabbed it, swam behind me, started towing me backwards into Jim's line. So we got our lines tangled there, and it started swimming away, taking quite a bit of line. I was actually, to be honest, I was kind of a bit scared, but I knew that I had Jim and Kerry Flowers around me, and the support boats. So it towed me backwards quite a few times, but I just went with it, chased it down, slowly got it up to at least where I could see it underneath the water, and that's where I knew it was a good size 3 metre bronze whaler. So once the shark started coming up, it done a straight dive. My rod was hanging over the edge of the kayak. Once it done the straight dive, I should have pulled my rod around and dipped the rod into the actual water beside the kayak, but just a learning experience. As the shark dove, it snapped the rod on the edge of the kayak, and all part of the learning experience. Just got busted off by looked like a big bronzy, so definitely wasn't a mako. Oh, new rod, hopefully a new reel.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
First shark on the kayak.
Seagar's Extreme Kayak Fishing Challenge is brought to you by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Power Pole Micro Anchor. Swift, silent, secure, and small. Werner. A great fishing paddle is a great paddling paddle. Seagar. The inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders. Yak Attack. Make it yours. Although it was a little bit difficult to narrow down which of our adventures to feature in this show, one location didn't take any thinking at all, and that was tarpon fishing in Puerto Rico. We filmed there a few times over the past decade, and every time, with the help of our local guide, Omar Araka, we've knocked it out of the park. Our latest trip was no different, except this time I was joined by James Macbeth from Jackson Kayak, and he was looking to catch his first tarpon from a kayak. What an exciting fish to catch, man. Give them a little bit of slack, because that's when they like to snap that line. Ah, perfect release, I like that. Didn't have to deal with him. Nice. Get a lap dance. That's the second time he's tried to jump in the kayak.
Have a lot of finesse with it when you're bringing it in. The fish wanted to go, you want to release that leader. You don't want to keep the tension. Many times we use thin leaders in order to get more bites. So if you put tension on it, you're definitely going to bust it. That's why you see James right now working the fish. Very patient, nice. And very careful so he don't bust the leader. He wants his picture.
I don't fight a lot of tarpon, so it's very difficult to fight. But then brought it back to the boat. We got it out and we let it go safe. It was fun.
Just made a cast with a lure, and I got hit on the bait. Yeah. know the nice thing about being able to catch a few fish is you learn so much as you're doing it, you know. Definitely getting better at pointing my rod at the fish when he jumps. It's nice to have somebody like Omar with us to give us the proper instructions on how to handle them. Got that, whoa, mustad circle hooks right in the corner of the mouth. Small tarpon, but super fun, man. What a great fish these things are. They really are athletes. I mean, the way they jump, as hard as they pull, and they're so fast. Man, how much fun is that?
You know, these tarpon are great at breaking them off if you don't have the right setup. The real secret to my success here in Puerto Rico has been having the right combination of rod, reel, line, and leader. And that's why I'm a big fan of the Seaguar fluorocarbon pink label. I'm a huge fan of their subtle pink color on this stuff. It lets me see my line a little bit easier above the water while still being completely invisible below the water. Tarpon love to break you off with their sharp gill plates or wrapping around a dock piling or floating debris. Every time they jump is another chance for them to break your line. Seaguar Fluoro has proven itself to me time and time again with its incredible resistance to abrasion and minimal stretch.
Throwing some lures around these docks, and I was also soaking a live bait. And all of a sudden, there was a boil right next to my boat. I guess my bait had swam up right next to my kayak. All of a sudden, my line starts peeling off. You know, not big fish, but I'm using 60-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon leader because these things will break you off. I mean, every time we've had one on, the line has been super abraded. Well, thanks for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and I hope you'll join us next week for more exciting kayak fishing action. Maybe I'll try my boga on him. I don't know if I've ever boged a tarpon. Got him.